On the line with us is Professor Richard Wolff, the economist, the co-founder of democracyatwork.info, the author of numerous books. His most recent, The Sickness is the System, When Capitalism Fails to Save Us from Pandemics or Itself, also now available as an ebook. Democracyatwork.info, rdwolf with 2fs.com. You can tweet him at Prof Wolff with 2Fs. Don't forget the 2Fs. Professor Wolff, welcome back. So glad to have you with us. I forwarded to you an Axios newsletter this morning. It was talking about how, one of the problems with our economy is that when wealthy people make money or make more money, they don't spend it into the economy, so it doesn't stimulate the economy. Whereas when poor people run out of money, they can no longer spend it in the economy, and they're the ones that hold the economy up. I'm wondering your thoughts on how important that concept is, B, why more Americans don't get it, C, what we can do about this.
It's very important. Americans don't get it because of the teachers who teach us economics, either in the school or in the public arena or in the media, don't explain it well enough or often enough, and the solution is terribly easy. Let me explain. I was among most of the students in my classes in economics as I went through the university who figured out, partly by what the teachers did tell us, that the following sentence is true. The poorer you are, the more likely you are to take any money that comes your way and spend it because you're barely getting by. That's what it means to be poor. So the government knows that to give money to middle or lower income people is to have that money plowed right back into the economy, purchasing goods and services. Whereas if you are rich, you are probably already living pretty well, pretty high off the proverbial hog, and you will likely do a good bit of saving, of not spending whatever extra money you get since you're already rich. The reason this is important is that if you have an economic problem, as we do, and the government wants to step in and do something about it, which is what the leaders of our country say they want to do, then the logical priority would be to give the most money to the people at the bottom. And that's why I can explain to you why Americans don't know it, because the folks at the top do not want an economic policy that would, heaven forbid, tax them on the grounds that they have it and then pass it out to the people at the bottom because they would do more to stimulate the economy than giving it to people at the top. And what can we do about it? Easy. Change the policy mix. Make the policies go where not only is the need greatest, that is in the middle and lower levels of our income, but also where the economic punch will be the greatest. Every dollar you give, and there's plenty of studies that show it, every dollar you give to the lower half of the population produces many dollars of spending by those people and everybody they spend on who's likewise like them and therefore likely to take that money and spend it again. So it's really a simple lesson of the way a capitalist economy works, but we don't act on it because those at the top do not want to go where the logic here points.
And most of this conversation that you and I have been having has been in the context of government policy that would be supportive of working class people and poor people. Things that would support them that they would otherwise have to pay for, things like health care or education, child care, things like that. But let's put this in the context also of wages. In the previous hour, I had a conservative caller who was just all bent out of shape by the fact that in South Carolina, where he lived, there were help wanted signs, and people were saying, I'm not willing to work for $12 an hour or $10 an hour or whatever. I used to have a good job, and I've got a mortgage now, and I can't afford to work for that kind of wage. Talk about, and so it seems to me that what that situation is going to do. We've lost 8 million jobs that are not coming back now because so many businesses have just shuttered, and other businesses have figured, hey, this is a great excuse or opportunity to tighten up our operations and shed some people. Between those two things, is it not possible that this shortage of workers, shall we say, euphemistically, is going to drive up wages, which is going to stimulate the economy, which is going to help all of us.
Yeah, you know, it's always been a mystery to me, Tom. We have this phrase that Americans know called trickle-down economics. Right. The idea being you should have a policy giving money to the people at the top, which is indeed what we mostly have, and we shouldn't object because it will trickle down. The people at the top will take the money and they will hire the rest of us and all of that. You very rarely hear trickle-up economics, which makes much more sense because we know that if you give money to the people at the bottom, they'll spend it. And precisely as you said, we don't know anything of the sort by giving money to people at the top. And yet, trickle-down economics is a common phrase. Trickle-up, when I articulate it, has people raise their eyebrows wondering, you know, what I'm talking about. And raising wages is the best possible trickle-up economics you can do because, again, you know that people, particularly those earning under $15 an hour these days, are people who are on the very edge, cannot save anything, will spend every nickel they have because the cost of living requires no less. And look, it's no achievement if what we do is starve out the mass of our people, force them to work at $10 or $11 or $12 an hour because you've taken away, as 21 states now have done, the extra $300 that was supposed to help them through the worst public health disaster in a century. I mean, what kind of a society does that, and what kind of a life are you giving to those people to whom you are saying work for very little, live on next to nothing, or will make it even worse for you? This is a society that has lost the ability to take care of huge portions of its population, and the social and long-term historical costs of that outweigh all these other considerations.
Yeah, and I mean, just consider the damage done to children of growing up in poverty. I mean, it's truly mind-boggling. So, are you seeing? We have about a minute and a half left, Professor Wolff. Are you seeing in this so-called worker shortage an actual optimistic sign? I think I am. That was the point I was trying to make.
Well, I think there's an element of that. I wish that were all there was. Yes, there are people who are saying we've now gone through really hell and back here with this COVID, with the economic crash at the same time. We're not about to go and come out of the other end of that with an awful job, awful circumstances, bad pay, poor benefits. It's really outrageous to impose that on us at the same time that the billionaires in our country have gotten much richer. I mean, there is a kind of protest here, and I certainly celebrate that. But I'm also, and I can't say this in a nice way, I'm depressed at the very thought that something like this is serious policy. I just read a statistic that half of the retail stores scheduled to be open this year in 2021 will be in the dollar chain, you know, Dollar General, Family Dollar. These are the stores for the poorest of the poor. That's the only place this economy now thinks it can grow. And that is a statement that ought to make everyone, including those at the top of this society, sit up and take notice.
That is mind-boggling. And you said 21 states now have cut off unemployment benefits?
That's right. 21 states have taken away the extra $300 purely to force those people to go to work at jobs that they do not want and should not be forced to take.
Incredible. Professor Richard Wolff, democracyatwork.info, Prof. Wolff on Twitter. Thank you, sir.